What up, though, you two? We are back. BMF Season 3, Episode 1. At first, let me say this. I know I'm late. I know I'm a little late to the party because I'm going to review Episode 1 and Episode 2 drop today. I'll do that review later. However, my disclaimer is that your girl have been sick, down bad with sinusitis and bronchitis, and I am literally just now trying to get over it. Had enough strength to get out of the bed today and make this video. I've been wanting to, but like I said, your girl's been down, so forgive me for that. But we're back. We're on these reviews, and I'm gonna give my thoughts and prayers on this episodes. Okay, so let's get it. Okay, so the first scene, we start off with Meech and Terry, the future Meech and Terry that have gotten locked up. And they put them in a holding cell together, and they're discussing their strategy of their game plan of how they're going to plea. Now, Meech is on to, taking a plea deal in efforts to, have a date and then appeal that and everything like that, good behavior, whatever, to get early release. Terry's not with it. He's wanting to go to trial on it. The irony of that is today we know that Terry's out and Meech is still in. So that didn't that didn't fare well with Meech. Apparently, I didn't follow this case that much back in the day, so I don't really know how it really went following through this story. Kind of want to get into some of the real true story documentaries away from this TV show because I know a lot of it is fluff. So maybe that's something we can do on this channel together and react to. We shall see. All right. But that's where the scene starts off, with those two having that disagreement of how they're going to plea. The next scene shows Markeisha and Terry in the back of the ambulance. They're being taken to the hospital. This is right after that. You remember the last scene of season 2 when someone pulled up and started blasting on them. We know it was Saint and all that type stuff, the jealousy of the relationship. So she's at the hospital, and his family comes in. And it's just an out-of-pocket scene, really. Terry is just really, and it could be the female in me. Terry's just really out of pocket with this whole thing. I know you love who you love and everything like that, but dude, you got a whole girl who's pregnant with your child. He handled this totally wrong, right? Word gets out that he's been in a shootout. Obviously, this girl is going to come with the family. So he's mad at her because she's blowing up, and she's blowing up because she found out that Terry was with Markeisha. Just all kind of drama. But the smartest one in the room was little Nikki. Nikki lets him know, listen, man, you need to watch how you move. Meech was smart enough to get up out of here. Watch how you move. Like, to me, she was the one with the most level head. Like, man, dude, like, you're messing up. And you're putting yourself in, you guys are already in a bad life, a bad way of life, your lifestyle and your life choices, but you adding to that. It's like you're adding fuel to that. We want you all to be safe. We want you to be safe. So she tells him that. We all know he's not going to listen, but, to me, that little girl is one of the smartest one, and she's been through a lot of her darn self. So she's the smartest one in the room in that regard. So we're back in Atlanta, and we see Meech making his moves, trying to get his operation up and running. We know that he's already set up to have half of the product from Detroit to come to him so that he can move product in Atlanta while Terry moves product in Detroit. So he goes to see this new character that we're introduced to, who's actually Neo in real life, but he's Greeny on the show, and he's the big man in Atlanta that does the laundry and moving the money around and things like that. So he goes to set up shop with him, work out a deal with him. They chop it up, but Greeny pretty much stood his ground. They sealed a deal, and then they're going to work together. He tells Meech, hey, come go with me to Paradise. exotic strip club where, the top women are. So he goes with them. They get there. Meech is feeling himself. He's looking around. He's enjoying, what he sees and everything like that. He gets a call from T's right hand. And the guy's informing him that of what has gone down with Markeisha and T. He's letting him know, listen, T is not letting this Saint thing go. He's wanting to take actions. That's all that's on his mind right now. Of course, Meech is about that money. He need that product sent to him. He need them moving their product in Detroit. So he's not with it. He's telling him, hey, keep him calm. Well, I guess T kind of figured something because he pulls up on him, grabs the phone, and he and Meech start chopping it up. So he kind of course, he feels disrespected because this is my right-hand man. Why are you calling Meech? And my brother's keeper. That's what it reminds me of. They just got this Cain and Abel thing going on, but they don't want to really admit it because they're trying to hold on to that womb to the tomb thing as well. But we know it's going to end bad. So Meech kind of talks to him and let him know, hey, get this going. He assures Meech that he got it. Blah 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 blah. So Meech goes on to the party. He goes back in and starts back to mingle. So Greenie takes him over so that he can meet the rest of the Detroit crew that's in Atlanta, doing business. So he goes over, he's meeting up with everybody. And Meech notices this one guy, that he's introduced to, Stax, a.k.a. 2 Chain. And he notices the chain that he has on. He's like, that's my boy Ty Washington chain. What are you doing with that? So he lets him know that he's real close with the family. He's been taking care of his wife, and the kid ever since this happened to him. And Meech let him know, hey, he was like a brother to me. So, it's a no-brainer that they're going to get together, right? But it's not going to be so easy at first. Of course, people have trust, things that they have to, overcome. So, they, chop it up. And while they're chopping it up, Stack notices Remy across the way. And, Meech already had issues with Remy back in the last season. So when Meech notices him, he goes over and boy, the rest of the boys, follow suit. And they get over there and it gets popping. They throw hands together. And you would think that the way Meech, led that charge, and he did, he led the charge, got the best of him and everything like that. Gutsy, you would think that would have made Stax just want to go ahead and work with him and trust him right off rip, but it didn't. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Stax is actually from Atlanta and the rest are from Detroit, so he didn't have that tie or bond or trust level of him, so it was a little more reluctant. So it was just going to take a little more time. And he just pretty much let them know because they met later and Meech kind of like let them all know his plan, his desires, things that he wanted to do and get done. And everybody was on board, it seemed like. And then Stax was like, nah, man, like, because, Ty never told me about you. So, he was a little reluctant and I understood that. So he left and a couple of, guys that was with him, they left too. So then we see Remy, he and his right-hand man, they are passing out these like little bags, like brown paper sack lunches to the kids. I'm assuming that's all it is. That's what they said it was. Cop looked in there. Was it something in disguise that we're going to find later that it was actually something more than that? I don't know. But I initially felt like it may have been more to it that he had these kids pushing drugs. But as the episode went along and they began to tell how dearly he felt about his city and the kids because of what happened to his little brother, I'm assuming it was all legit. It kind of made me look at Remy in a different light. Like, okay, I kind of get it because you got to take his stance too. If this is true, with him losing his little brother to the streets. And I do remember as a little girl, the missing and murdered children in Atlanta being scared to even go to school and everything like that. Go outside and play. There's a lot of things that we couldn't do. So it was a very, very rough time to see all these little children on the news that were, discovered murdered. But, he seems to have that care for his community and wanting to rebuild his community. And then you got this cat coming down, and his means of doing that is the streets. Then you got this cat coming down from Detroit trying to take it over. So he felt very, very threatened. But anyway, the other piece to the Atlanta history are the Red Dog. So they pulled up on them. Red Dog was a task force. I think they're still out there. They're just not as prevalent as they were back then. They were really, 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 really strong, really, really harsh. Did a lot of things that possibly they shouldn't have done. Definitely that they shouldn't have done. I'm not going to say possibly that they should not have done it. The way that they did it, they handled it. But they were rough. The Red Dog Task Force, they felt like they had to be. It was rumored that they were developed to clean the drugs up before the Olympics. Nothing really, really 100% factual behind that, so I just have to watch what I say. But I believe it. I believe that it was to clean up the streets for the bid for the Olympics, and we ended up getting the Olympics. We had the Olympics here in Atlanta. But this Red Dog Task Force was no joke. People knew of them. People feared them. People, they cleaned up a lot, good, bad, and different how they did it. They cleaned up a lot. So apparently the acronym stands for Run Every Drug Dealer Out of Georgia, Red Dog. So there you have it. Anyway, they popped up on him, and Remy, again, like I said, he seemed to really care about the community. He was like, listen, we're going to take whatever heat we need to take, but let these kids get over. Don't let them see this. And I thought that was kind of neat too. Now we're back at the original home that the boys grew up in. Their parents are there, and there's, I was going to say they're still trying to work it out, but no, he's still trying to work it out. He's asking for forgiveness. He's wanting her to forgive him, take him back. And Lucille's just not having it. She's just not having it. She did, kind of like for a minute, laid her head into his chest and let him hold her. And she told him that there was once upon a time that this was the safest place for me ever. Like, I felt like this was the safest place for me to be, and that's in your arms. But apparently she don't feel that way no more, because she then pulled back and say, hey, I want a divorce. It just is what it is. And speaking from experience, I went through this exact same thing when I was married, and I kind of feel her on it. You do see that in your head over and over as you try to forgive this person. And sometimes it's hard. Some people can get through it and they live happily ever after, but I just wasn't one of those people. So I kind of feel her in this. Just is what it is. So then we see Bryant with his son, Kevin. It's just a sad case, because guess what? It's a reality when you have young men that, were brought up, and, this man pretty much sheltered his son, protected him from everything. And now he's faced the reality, and he's going to have to deal with this on his own. And we all know this is going to end bad, just based on what I can piece through the trailer. I feel like it's going to end bad. And I hate it, because he's in jail right now. He's being held, but they're wanting to send him on to juvie. And we know Kevin is just not the strongest at all. He's so weak, because, he ends up being sent to juvie, and his daddy is trying to, sometimes it's too much too late, right? He's pouring all this information into his son at the last second. These are things you should have been raising him with. And he's telling him, don't let nobody see you cry. Stay strong, stay tough. Don't ask a whole lot of questions. Like, he taking his artwork from him, and because he know them kids are going to ram him about that. And he's just trying to make him tough. Pour all this into him. Don't take any gifts or favors from anybody. And, I don't know. It's just like, we're going to see what happens. And he even mentioned something about he's going to have some people in there already that's going to look out for Kevin. But I kind of feel like that's going to end up going bad for him too. Because at the end of the day, you a cop. And if these guys are in juvie, they really, really ain't messing with you like that. They probably gonna get Kevin up in there and get Kevin really, really hemmed up. But we're gonna see. It's just such an unfortunate thing for little Kev. It really, really is, because he was bullied. Nobody listened to it, and he just snapped, right? But I really, really, that's a storyline that's kind of dark. Like, wow, I hate that for the young man. So Detective Jen gets a new partner, and their summons, their first order of business is to go and visit Markeisha at the hospital as she's recovering, and just try to see what type of intel they can get from her, in hopes that she'll talk, being that she's been targeted. No, they get there, and she basically, in a nutshell, tells them to get the F out of. Like, she has nothing for them. She's not going to tell them anything, so they leave empty-handed. So one of T's other right-hand men, it seems like he has two that he really depends on. I think one of them may be a little closer to MEECH than, the other, because, everybody, MEECH is the only one that came to Atlanta, so pretty sure that out of T's crew that's in Detroit, MEECH still got a lot of, pull there, and T's sort of struggling with that. But anyway, another one of his boys calls MEECH and tells him, listen, T is not letting this go. I've got sights on Saints. We got eyes on him. We know where he is, where he's kicking it. What are we doing here? And he's like, listen, do not let T, T can't handle this. T don't need to be taking no bodies. You get one of your boys to do it. Somebody else do it. If you got to make it, give T the credit. Whatever you got to do, but do not let him pull that trigger. Whatever you do, don't let him pull the trigger. You guys take care of it. So next we see this young man. He comes, he lets T know that it's been done. First, T gets all upset. He knows it's MEECH. I know MEECH is the one that told you to do that. He said, listen, man, at the end of the day, a man at your level shouldn't be getting his hands dirty. You tell the streets whatever you want to tell the streets, what the streets think what they want to think, but at least your hands are clean, because he's thinking about his image. What is that going to make me look like that I didn't do it? It's like, I'm not telling nobody who did it, and neither are you. So, it is what it is. Let's just move forward. So we see T, he goes to the hospital to get Markeisha. She's being released, and he lets her know that he's going to take her somewhere safe, that she has nothing to worry about. He's going to take her somewhere safe. She don't have to worry about Saint or anybody from that crew ever again, because, she just don't. She's like, well, I'm not going to ask you what you did. I appreciate, you keeping me safe. He also tells her that he's purchased a home for them. So yeah, he's doing all the right things for this woman with two kids. It's not his, and he's treating the woman with his kids like crap. Like, it just is what it is. You love who you love. What can I say, right? He's doing right by her. I guess I wouldn't have a problem if he was doing right by the mother of his children, and one who's currently carrying his child. To me, it just all seems out of pocket and reckless to me. So we see T, he's now splitting up, his money. He's made his sales and everything. He sent MEECH his half. MEECH is out there, got the streets popping, moving with his. And T has gotten his money back. He's gotten some of the returns back, and it's looking really, really good. He's feeling good and everything. And he tells, his dude, he said, listen, they were at the record shop, and he said, we're going to be leaving this place. This was MEECH's idea. This was MEECH's spot again. That am I, my brother's keeper, womb to the tomb, going in bad. Because you don't even want to stay where he got things going. You want your own. So he says, I've purchased a restaurant. We're going to be moving things over to this restaurant. And that's why I feel more comfortable and, my own, so they're going to be moving. And hey, it just is what it is. Then next we see Terry. He shows up at the house, at his parents' house, with Markeisha. Now, And this is where he, felt like he could get her to a safe place, I guess, until they can move into their house. But Terry, didn't you know old girl was gonna be there with your kids? Don't you know the dynamic of your family already? That girl was always over there. He just out of pocket to me. He's just so out of pocket. Terry, I don't know. But he brought over there, of course, everything blew up, and the girl picks up with the baby, pregnant, and leaves. And he go, he don't even go after her. He don't even go after her. He just, he don't care. It just is what it is. That's the mentality of some people. They want what they want, and they don't care who they hurting in the path. And I just think it's just so sad and out of pocket. Like, even the parents try to talk to him, but they couldn't really talk to him because he gave them the look like, oh, I'm wrong? Like, I'm living wrong? Like, they had to think about their life. Like, sometimes that hurt. When you ain't living right and you trying to give advice, sometimes it's tough. It really is tough. So he kind of like flipped that on them. Then he stormed upstairs with Markeisha. That's his baby. He want to make sure Markeisha's good. It's funny what Meech be calling him for Terry. Tender. So Terry done did his thing with his bricks that he had, and Meech is in Atlanta moving his around. He gives Stacks 25, bricks, and tell him, hey, he gave him at a discount. Hey, feed your boys with this, get them going, get that money flowing, with this and everything like that. So he get that popping. He give Dice some work to get rid of, and Dice let him know, hey, it's gonna be tough, because of the territory, but God, I'm gonna get this going. And so Dice hit the streets with his portion. So while they're finishing up with Dice, they get a call from one of the other boys. He's letting them know, hey, I done did my transaction. You come pick me up. I got that bread. So they're on their way to go scoop him up. And I think that's the dude that can rap, ain't it? Somebody let me know the comment. I ain't feel like going back watching it again, but I think that was the dude that could rap that he pulled to the side and told him he won't out the game. Sometimes that's how it happened. You be caught up in stuff and you got a whole talent and you don't take heed. Anyway, but they go to scoop him up, and when they get there, he's walking to them with the bag of money. He's headed their way with the bag of money, and all of a sudden, they're ambushed. Remy's boys have been watching and just start busting on them. So, Meech, he ain't scared. He hopping out the car. He banging back at him, and he goes and he grabs the boy and throw him in the car. And they, get ready to try to get away. But somebody else pulls up, and they call them the Miami Killers, the MK boys. They pull up and they start busting, and they kill the two dudes that Remy sent and start busting at Meech and his crew. So Meech, they in the car already. They're in the car already. They're trying to get away, and Meech like, oh no, we're not leaving my bread, because Buddy had dropped a bag. Kind of remind me of GTA, because I love to play GTA. When, you get shot, you got that bag gonna drop. A dealer dropped the bag, somebody dropped the bag, right? So Meech is like, hey, we want to get that bag. So they backed up, and Meech kind of like hung out the car. When they rolled by, he scooped his money up, and they got up out of there in good enough time. So they was able to, escape that. And then later we found out that the young man that took the bullet that Meech saved and threw in the car, he survived. He's going to be all right. So I hope that, if that was that rapper kid, I hope that he's going to be all right, and that they don't let him go back out there doing none of that no more. Stay on that path. We'll see. I think that was him, though. I'm not sure. Then we see Remy and his right hand. They're standing in the Tetwood projects out there looking over everything. And dude tells Remy about the shootout where, two of their guys got shot up. They're gone. And Remy's like, hey, make sure you let their family know that I'm paying for everything. They don't have to worry about nothing. Make sure you get some food over there to them. He just want them to know that he's going to take care of them. They ain't got to worry about nothing. And then he said, oh, and by the way, I also got eyes on MEECH. The Trump boys, they moving product too in our territory. And he was like, he felt disrespected. Again, like I said earlier, he just felt disrespected. So he, put out that word of what they gonna do about it. So words get back to, the PD that Saint has been taken out. Jen and her new partner heads over that way to check things out. And while there, Jen notices, because they were like, they don't have 100% proof that it was Terry and his crew, but, she knows that that's who did it. And she notices something, and she sends old girl, the new chick, she sends her out to go get the fingerprint kit and whatever, send her on a little dummy mission. And as she does, she pulls, pull the cover back, and she sees the packs. So there's some packs there. So they must have set old boy up like they was going to, I don't know how, but you could tell it was tearing them packs because it was wrapped the way they do there. I don't know. We going to see. So she pulled it, and she's still in this. She pulled it. Because, her and Brian, they notorious for being dirty, doing things, underhanded, setting people up, all that, right? So we don't know what she going to do with these packs, but she did confiscate the packs. So later we see MEECH. He's sitting in his car. It looks like he's probably like sitting under the Spaghetti Junction 285, 75 area. Like he see all these interstates in the A. Never seen them, they're beautiful. You should come see them, especially when it's really, really busy and everything's flowing and moving, right? So he's seeing the famous, interstates in the A. And he's like, bruh, he said, he's on the phone with Terry. And he's letting him know, bruh, this right here is going to be the Mecca. We're going to be able to touch everywhere from these interstates. You ought to see these interstates. So he's cooking, and the ideas are cooking. The stuff that came to reality for BMF. He's thinking about it. They made this sign famous, the big famous BMF sign, right? So he's cooking, and he's just telling Terry about it. He's reminiscing. So, the plan and the brainstorming is coming together. Then we see MEECH is with his crew, right? He's got all this product out there. He's feeling confident. He's with his crew. They decide to go out for the night. They get to the club, and Glock denies their entry. And I'm sure this is all because behind Remy. Remy's from there. So he probably, ain't no doubt he's got a little more clout than what MEECH has. MEECH is the new guy on the block. And so they won't let him in. They tell him he can't come in, right? So he's, he said it's, MEECH going to be mouthy. He's going to have he going to pop back off, be a little spicy. Say what he got to say, and they're headed off. As they're heading off, a car scurries in, and out jumps Remy, telling MEECH, hey, take your back to the north. Get out the south, go back to the north. The south is mine, right? And as he's saying that, his boys is pulling a body out of the car. And it's Dice. And they throw him on the ground, got one in the chest, and they done took out Dice. They done took out Dice, so they done took that product. And, hey, he pretty much let him know it's over with in the A. You gotta go. This is my territory. And that's where it ended, folks. But we know from history it didn't end there. So we'll see. We got much more to come. I have not watched, even though it's the day of the draw, I have not watched part 2 yet, episode 2 yet. So I'm excited to see it. I wanted to do this review before I watched it because I didn't want me watching it to taint my true review of this episode. So I'm getting ready to go watch it right now, and I'll have episode 2 up sometime this weekend. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. To be honest, I watched episode 1 last week when it dropped. And then when I rewatched it today for this review, I'm getting excited. It's like I had to watch it a second time. And that first time I was like, I don't know if BMF going to be that good this season. But I think it is. I really, really think it is. So I'm becoming a fan all over again, right? So yeah, looking forward to it. But hopefully, so do you. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend about this channel. Keep this thing growing. And as always, stay safe. And on to the next one. Peace.